Hello all. So in this session, I'll be showing you how to deploy a machine learning model on IBM and access it through a scoring endpoint once you deploy that onto the IBM Cloud. So the first thing that you have to do deploy a machine learning model on IBM is to get registered on IBM Cloud. I'll be sharing you the links of registration and login. Once you log in, once you register and log into the account, you will be redirected to a page which looks like this. You can consider this as a landing page, and this is also called as a dashboard. Today, we will be deploying a machine learning model. So in IBM, we have a number of services which will be helpful in deploying our model. So as soon as you log in, it will ask you to see some tour to get accustomed with IBM Cloud, but you can skip it. So today I'll show you what are all the services that we're gonna use. We will be using Watson Studio, which is used to run your Jupyter notebooks. And then we will be using a machine learning service, which is used to train the model. Then we will be using cloud object storage service, which is used to store your data sets. So these are all the services that we will be using today. So let's get started. First, let's create Watson Studio service. To create your Watson Studio service, click on catalog, search for Watson Studio, click on Watson Studio option. Make sure you select the region as Dallas because Dallas offers almost all the services, but other regions are not having few of the services. So make sure you select Dallas as your region. Scroll down. If just check whether you are in light plan or not. If not, you have to pay for it. And if you want to give any name for your Watson Studio, you can give right away over here. But let the default name be like that. Now please click on create. So your Watson Studio is created. Now let's get started. Click on get started button. You will be redirected to IBM Cloud Park for data page where you can build your visual recognition models, machine learning models, deep learning models by creating a project. So the first thing that you have to do once you launch your Watson Studio is to create a model. So the first thing that you have to do is to create a project and then create a Jupyter notebook and then deploy your model on IBM. So first let's create a project. So please click on projects. Click on new project. Click on create an empty project. Give a name to it. So I'm naming it as a custom model deployment. Once you give your name, then the next step that you have to do is to add your cloud object storage service. If yours is a new account, then you will find an option to add your cloud object storage service. Otherwise, if you already have cloud object storage service, then it gets directly associated to this project. But as this is a new user's account, so I would like to create this cloud object storage service. To do so, please click on add. You get redirected to a page where you can create your cloud object storage service, and make sure even this is selected as a light plan. Scroll down. If you want to give the name of it, you can give it. Otherwise, make the default name as the one. Now please click on create. Once you click on create, you'll get redirected to the same page. Then click on refresh. Your cloud object storage is already associated. Now please click on create. Now your project is ready to use. So once your project is ready, then you can add Jupyter notebooks so that you can deploy your model. So this is how your project landing page looks like. You can see the overview of your project on overview tab, and if you open assets tab, you can see all the files that are associated to your project. Like it could be your Jupyter notebook or it could be a data set. Right now we don't have anything, so it's showing empty, and you can see what are all the environments that are available in IBM. So you can see environments like you will have Python environment, you will have Spark environment. So we will be using any of these environment while deploying our model. And if you see here, the capacity per month is 50 units. Capacity units per hour is 50. So if you cross this 50 units, then you'll no longer be able to deploy any of the machine learning model onto the IBM cloud. And if you see jobs, if you are running any of the notebooks or any of the experiments, then you can see the job related files over here. And here is where you can give access to any of your friends or any other emails. And this is the settings where you can change the settings of your project. So now let's add the Jupyter notebook. To do so, please click on add to project. Click on Jupyter notebook. You can see here you have an option called notebook. Please click on that. Now you have to load the machine learning model that you've already built using a data set. So here today I'm using churn modeling data set where I have already done the model training with the help of random forest on this data set. So this churn modeling is nothing but it will tell whether the customer will be exiting from a bank or not based on some sort of inputs. So here we have row number, customer ID, surname, but I have taken the inputs from credit card score to estimated salary. And if I give these as the inputs, then my model will be predicting whether the person will get exited from the bank or not. So I've already created a notebook for that. So let me show you the notebook that I've created for that. So here, this is the notebook that I have created for churn modeling. So now what I would like to do is I would like to load the same notebook onto the cloud. So please give a name to your notebook or select from file. So if you select from file, then automatically the name will be issued to your notebook. So here, please drag and drop the file that you have trained on the data set that you have chosen. So this is the generic procedure. This generic procedure will be same for any of the data set that you have chosen. Now I am just clicking on create. Please click on create. So your notebook is loading. So this is the notebook that you've trained, that'll be like the trained notebook on your specific data. By the time it gets loaded, Now let's go create a machine learning service. So come to the other page, click on this IBM Cloud. You can click over there, or you can also open that in a new tab. So it's asking me to log in. Let me log in. Now please click on catalog, search for machine learning service. So make sure you have selected Dallas. Because we have created Watson Studio in Dallas region, and you also make sure you have selected the light plan. As I already have machine learning service, so it's saying that you already have one plan, so you cannot create it. So for light users, you cannot create more than one service. So I'll be using the same service which I have created. So if you click on create button, your machine learning service will be created. But if you want to open your machine learning service, you can directly click on your dashboard. Under dashboard, you will find services. In that services, you can see your machine learning model is already created. So your model is created. Now let's jump into the model, the Jupyter notebook, and train our model first, and then we'll deploy it on IBM. All right. So first one is to import the Pandas and Numpy library. If our data set is in our local directory, then we will be using this data set is equal to pandas.read_csv of churnmodeling.csv, the name of the file. But your data set is not yet in the IBM Cloud. So first you have to upload your data set to the IBM Cloud. To do so, please click on this binary numbers. Select the data set that you want to work on. So I've chosen my churn modeling data set. Now, if you see the data set is already uploaded, now please remove this sentence as the data set is uploaded to Cloud Object Storage Service. You have to authenticate the Cloud Object Storage Service and retrieve the data set from Cloud Object Storage Service. So please select insert to code. If the options are not seen, please refresh your browser. Now select the cell, click on Pandas data frame. Now you can see data set has been loaded from Cloud Object Storage Service. So for the whole program, I have used data set as the variable. So I'm changing my variable to data set. Now run the file. Now you can see this is data set. Now you can see I have done a label encoding and one hot encoding and everything. And I've also see here, you can see I have filled the missing values with this set of code. And I've also used label encoding to convert textual data into the number format. Once that is done, then I am splitting my data set into X and Y, where I've taken X values as credit card score to exit estimated salary and Y value as exited or not. Once that's done, then as my data has textual data, so I have to convert that into binary form, and I've used one hot encoding for that. So I've done this one hot encoding as well, and now I've splitted the data set into train and test. Once the data set is split into train and test, I am training my data with the random forest regressor. If you see, I am training X train and Y train with random forest. Now let's see how many inputs are there for our data set. To do so, click on type X train dot shape. You can see there are 12 inputs, and if you want to see what are all those inputs, train of 0. Of 0 is nothing but the first row you're grabbing. Now you can see you have 12 inputs. The first three inputs are binary values for geography. The textual data is converted into binary values, as we have three values in textual data, like France, Spain, and Germany. The three country names got converted into binary values, and then the remaining are credit card score, gender, age, tenure, up to estimated salary. Now let's deploy our model. As we have trained our model, now let's deploy our model. So before deploying a model, you have to first install this library, IBM Watson machine learning. Now use this statement to install the library, which is exclamatory mark pip space install space IBM underscore Watson machine learning service, and click on shift enter. So your API will be API client will be installed. Now let's connect this notebook to your machine learning service with the help of API key and URL. So if you're using Dallas region, then you can use the same URL, like https us-south.ml.cloud.ibm.com. If suppose you are using any other regions, then you can find the regions of IBM in the documents. So you can see there are different kinds of locations in IBM. So if you see, these are the locations of IBM. If you scroll down, you can see if it is North America, then you have to use the region as US South. If it is Europe also, you have to use it as EU Central. You can see the different kinds of regions that you have. Now ours is Dallas, so you can use US South. So that's what I have used here. https us.south.ml.cloud.ibm.com. So this one you have to change based on your region. Now this API key is from IAM Access portal. So to go to create your API, come to the other tab. You can see an option called manage. Please click on manage. Click on access IAM. Click on access IAM. Now click on API keys. Click on create an API. Give a name. Let me give it as new key. If you want to describe what your API, you can. Otherwise, just leave it. Create it. Copy the key and make sure you save this key somewhere. If you don't save this key, then you cannot see the key in future. So download it and save it somewhere. Please paste your API key over here. Click on shift enter, then this code will get executed. So now the first one is you are connecting your machine learning service as an API client, and then you are creating a deployment space where your model will be deployed. So this piece of code is used to create a deployment space in your IBM Cloud. So we'll just execute this, and here I am creating my deployment space as new space. So please execute this cell. So if you see, it says stop iteration because we have not created the new space. So we cannot create a space with programming. So what we do is we'll go to our cloud pack data. So here first you can click on Watson Studio, go to your dashboard, go to your dashboard, go to your dashboard, scroll down, open your Watson Studio service. Open your Watson Studio service. Click on get started. Likewise, you have created a project on Watson Studio. The same way you have to create a deployment space. So let's the cloud park data gets loaded. Now, if you click on this deployments, you don't have any spaces. So now let's create a new space. Click on new deployment space. Give a name. I'm giving it as model deployments or models. Now click on create. You have created a model deployment space where you can store your model. Now your space is created. So view your space. Then you can see you don't have any sorts of asset. Now let's first store our model, and then we'll deploy the model over here. Now go to your churn modeling notebook. So here the name of the space that you've given is, let me check the space that I've given, models. So please copy this and paste it over here, models, models. Now just execute this. Then your space ID will be created. If you see, your space ID is created. So once your space ID is created, then you can make this space as your default space. That means you can deploy any number of, I mean, not more than 5, of course, in a light plan. So you can deploy 5 models to the same space. So you can see it gave the response as success. That means the space ID is used as a default one. Now just execute what are all the software specifications that you have. You can see default underscore pi 3.6. So you can use any of the environment to deploy your machine learning model, right? Now, once that is done, then here you can see what is the Python environment that you want to use. So I am making this as default pi 3.7. So 3.6 is no longer used. Enter. Now your model ID is being generated. With the help of this model ID, you will be deploying a scikit-learn model. So I am giving my name as churn modeling. Now if you see, model is equal to forest underscore reg. So this is the model name that I've given while training random forest regressor. So if you go up, if you scroll up, if you scroll up, you can see my name of my regressor is forest underscore, I mean the name of my model is forest underscore reg. So the same name I've used, whichever the name that you use for training your data, the same number should be given over here. Now I want to name my model as churn modeling. So with this model name, your model gets stored in the deployment space, and that is a scikit-learn model, and you are deploying that, I mean you are storing your model in the space. So once you store your model, then you can see you can get a model ID. All right, so if you see extrain of 0, I already told you these are the inputs that you have to pass once the model is trained. So for suppose if I want to predict anything, so forest reg dot predict, so these 12 parameters I have to pass. So if you have only 5 columns, then you have to pass only 5 columns. If you have 4 columns for training, then you have to pass only 4. Right now, after one hot encoding and label encoding, my data column, my input columns are 12. So I am passing 12 columns to for prediction. So it gave me the prediction. So we have to use the same things once we get the scoring endpoint as well. Now we have stored our model in the deployment space. Now go to your deployment space. If you see here, please click on refresh button, refresh your browser. Then you can see the churn modeling has been stored. So you can see the churn modeling is stored. Now if you click on deploy, please click on deploy. So before deploying for this model, for this deployment space also, you have to associate the machine learning service. So please go to settings, click on go to settings, click on associate an instance. You already have a machine learning service which you've created in Dallas region. So select that and click on save. Now come to assets. Now again, please click on deploy. Once you associate the machine learning service with the deployment space, then deploy a model. Make sure that you deploy it as an online type, because it serves as an API, and you can integrate that with any of the web service. You can use Flask, you can use PHP, you can use JavaScript, any of the programming you can use to connect with the scoring endpoint that you get. Now I'm giving it as a new deployment. Create. Now go to deployments. Refresh the page. Now you can see a new deployment is deployed. So the status is deployed. Now open this new deployment. Now you have different, this is the API key that you get. This is the API key that you get to send your inputs and get the prediction out. So here you have Python SDK, where you can integrate your Python code, send your values, and get the outcome. All right, now what I'll show you is how to connect Python SDK to this scoring endpoint to grab the predictions. So I already created a Python code for that. So if you see here, this is my Python code. So the Python code is given over here also. I have used the same Python code. The only change is, instead of fields, you have to give it as field. Instead of fields, you have to give it as field. Now here I have imported the request. I have imported my JSON. My API key is the one which I've used in the churn modeling API. So this is the Access API. So I asked you to store it, right? Save it, right? So you can directly save it, or you can copy from the code that you have written here. So here I'm copying my so I'm using my same API key here. And now here the other change that you have to do is your scoring endpoint. Please remove the scoring endpoint and place your scoring endpoint which you will be getting from your deployment spaces. So copy the scoring endpoint and paste it over here. Now the important thing is your values and your data. So here my column, my I have 12 columns. So G1, G2 geography, I told you geography got divided into three binary numbers, right? So G1 is one binary number, G2 is one binary number, and G3 is one binary number, which gets associated to a different country. Then you can pass another columns like credit card score, gender, age, tenure, and all. And here you can pass your values and then click on save. Control S, save your model and run the code. The Python code, you can use any IDE. You can use Python IDLE or PyCharm. Here I have used so let me print. My predictions are not shown, so let me print the prediction. Here I've used a spider IDE. You can use any of the IDEs. I'm running the code. You can see the predictions. It gave it as 1 means the person will not leave the bank, right? So but here I have to parse this, and I have used the parsing features which is under predictions. I have a list, so I have taken the list as 0. In that list I have a dictionary, so I have parsed my values. In that values it has a list which is in the 0th index, and in that list again my prediction is in the 0th index, so I am using this. Now control S, I've parsed my prediction. Now if you see, my prediction is 1, that means he will not leave the bank. Now I'll use some sort of if conditions, like if, so let me give this as a variable, pred is equal to, if pred is greater than, pred is equal to 0, print he will, no, 1 means exiting, 0 means no, he will not get exited, else print he gets exited. Now so you can see the value is he gets exited. Now what I do is I'll just change the values. Let's see we'll get different values or not. You can try changing the values. So even it's giving that as he gets exited, right? So you can change the values and work. You can use this as your code to get connected to the scoring endpoint. Once this is done, now I'll show you how do you use Flask web framework to create a user interface and get that predictions onto the UI, right?